Welcome back to the course on Shaddarshanas. The 6 systems of philosophy forms the foundations of our entire Indian wisdom base. In the last course, we talked about Nyaya as the first of the Shaddarshanas. Then we have Vaisheshika, the Sankhya, the Yoga, the Puramimamsa and the Uttarmimamsa. Now in this course, we talk about the Vaisheshika. Vaisheshika was developed by Maharshi Kanada. He is also known by the name of Aulokya and also Kashyapa. And he developed what are called as the Vaisheshika Sutras. Probably it was around 2nd century BC. In these sutras, he has 10 chapters. And it's also called as the books. In a sense, Vaisheshika is a supplement to the Nyaya. Vishesha talks about something which is special, a speciality of every object, every person, or we can also call it as particularity of this, that is Vishesha. In the first chapter, Kanada deals with the entire group of the Padarthas or the predicables. In the second, he talks about the ascertained substance. Third, description of the soul and the inner senses. Then the body and its constituents. In the 5th chapter, establishment of karma and action. Then he talks about the dharma or the virtue according to the scriptures. Then the 7th chapter, attribute and samavaya, that is co-inherence or combination of things. The manifestation of knowledge, its source and so on are described in the 8th chapter. In the 9th chapter, particular or concrete understanding of each have been described. And in the last chapter, he talks about the differences to the attributes of the soul. And a beautiful treatise. The essential principles of Vaisheshika, it talks about the nature and qualities of the self and the atomic theory of the universe. Always in all these philosophies, we talk about the God, the universe, the individual soul, the actions, the karma, the dukkha, the sukha, the bondages, and how to overcome all these things and go back to the source. In the Vaisheshika also, we have the dimensions. The chief objective is the analysis of the experience. That's the speciality of Vaisheshika. So it begins with arranging its enquiries under categories called as the Padarthas. There are 7 Padarthas or categories that the Vaisheshika talks. Padartha literally means Pada and Artha, the meaning of a word. But here it is used in a little special sense. It denotes a substance discussed in philosophy. All things which exist, which can be perceived, which can be named and experienced are called as Padarthas. The compound substances are eternal and independent. So, in Vaisheshika, the 7 Padarthas or categories have been talked about. The first is the substance, called as the Dravya. Second is the quality or the property, that is the Guna. Third is the action. Fourth is the generalities of the properties, the general, that is Samanya. And then we have the particularity or the Vishesha. Then we have the co-inherence of the perpetual and the intimate relation, that is the Samavaya. And these are the 6 things that Kanada talks about. But his later authors added on the dimension of Abhava or the non-existence, that is the negation of existence. The first three categories, that is the substance, the quality and the action, they are objective existence. But the next three, the generality, the particularity and inherence, they are intellectual discriminations that I have done. And these are the dimensions that have been talked about in the Padarthas. Kanada, as I mentioned, only enumerated these 6 categories, and the later they didn't. And there are 9 dravyas when you take the Padarthas, and each one of them have 24 qualities. So we have got the earth, the water, the fire, the air and the ether. Prithvi, Jala, Agni, Vayu and Akasha. Then along with that we have got the time, the space, the mind and the soul. These are the 9 dravyas that have been talked about in the dimension, and the 24 qualities for each one of them, which are all enumerated here, you can see. And the 9 dravyas and the 24 qualities talk about the entirety of this whole universe. And the elevation or the throwing, that is the karma aspect. The karma can be utkshepana, that is you throw up, or you have depression, apakshepana, bringing it down, or akunchana, that is contraction, and prasarana, expansion, and motion, gamana. These are the 5 dimensions of what is called the karma or the action. Then the 6th category is the samavaya or co-inherence. It is the co-inherence between a substance and its qualities, between a species and its individuals, between any object and the general idea connected with it, and is thought to be a real one, the real entity. But the 7th is the abhava, and we have got the 3 or these abhavas that have been talked about in the dimensions. That is things. Well, these are all the categorizations that have been made, and you get at the knowledge through the experience, analysis of the experience. So, what are the ways by which you get the direct knowledge and the right knowledge? Here, he dealt with only 2 aspects, that is pratyaksha and anumana, whereas the Nyaya dealt with 4 pramanas, pratyaksha, anumana, upamana and the agama. But here in Vaisheshikas they used only direct perception or inferential knowledge. These are the only 2 pramanas that they have accepted by Kanada. Then we have the principle of adrushta and it's inadequate. Kanada, in contrast to Nyaya, Gautama, he doesn't openly refer to God in his sutras anywhere. The formulation of the world was the result of the adhishtha, that is the unseen force of the karmas or the acts and the primal activities of the atoms and souls to the principles of adhishtha. So atoms have the actions that are going on and the unknown forces which are attributed as God or adrushta by Nyaya. Here he doesn't talk about God, it is some unknown forces work together. And that ultimate reality or God is both the efficient and the material cause of the entire universe. That is what Kanada believes in that. Atoms do not have the power and the intelligence to act by themselves. Atoms are gross. Therefore, if the atoms have to move, there should be an intelligent principle to do that. They are regulated by the omniscient and omnipotent God. Inference and scriptures compel the Adhisthana, and that is the intelligence of God. The unknown forces or intelligent forces that govern this entire universe, it is said. Now coming to understanding of the universe, the Jiva and the God. How is this universe made? The 5 elements are the effects. The knowledge of them, that someone, here not call it as God, maybe God, author of this entire knowledge. The contents of the Vedas are the right knowledge which forms the essential knowledge base or intelligence of that unknown force, we may call it as God. And the Jiva, the souls, are destitute of intelligence in the state of dissolution. Hence, they cannot control the activities of the atoms. There is no source of motion within the atoms. Therefore, there must be a first mover of the atom. The first mover is the creator of the God. Therefore, it is the omniscient, omnipotent source from where the whole action takes place. The atoms or Parmanus do not have intelligence, they cannot move by themselves. It is very much in attunement with the modern science. In the physical world, where the atoms and the molecules and everything, matter doesn't have intelligence. They cannot move by themselves and they cannot change by themselves, and they are fixed entities. Only by an external force they can be moved, they can be transformed and others. And what is that force? The intelligent force. And in the Vaisheshika, it is all through the omniscient, intelligent process that it happens in the universe. The whole creation takes place according to these things. The atomic theory has been postulated in the Vaisheshika school. So, according to this, we have the smallest is called as the Mahat. That is the one that is perceivable, the particles. The smallest, therefore, is the Mahat. And it is defined as Trinukas, that is triads, Trianukas. These are made out of 3 parts, each of which are defined by a Dvyanika, that's a dyad. The Dhyanukas are conceived as made out of 2 parts, each of which are defined as the Parmanus, atoms. The Parmanus are indivisible, eternal, and they can neither be created nor destroyed. So essentially the Parmanus, and they come together, they become dyads, and 3 of such things become Trianus. And according to modern science, we have the molecules which are permutation and combination of atoms, and the atoms are the smallest units. But later on we found atoms are made of protons, neutrons and electrons, and probably that can be the triads. But we understand in modern science that each one of them are quarks, nothing but energy. That aspect has been the great development of modern science, we can say, compared to the atomic theory of this thing. Each Paramanu or atom possesses its own distinct Vishesha, individuality. That is the speciality of Vaisheshikas. The measure of the partless atoms is known as parimandala, parimana. That means it is eternal and it cannot be generated the measure of any other substance. Its measure is its own absolutely. Each atom is its own speciality, it is said. Therefore, in the Vaisheshika, we find a adjunct, an add-on to the Nyaya dimension. If Nyaya develops the pramanas to get the right knowledge, here also the right knowledge get by direct perception and inference. And the whole essential difference between Nyaya and Vaishesha is the Vishesha. Everything has got its own speciality, it has got its own individuality, it has got its own particularity. And that is the dimension of the Vaisheshikas that they have brought forth. And they went a little more deep into understanding of the triads and the dyads and the atoms. And the atoms are indivisible, they said. Therefore, Vaisheshikas and the Nyayakas go hand in hand. These two, Nyaya and Vaisheshika, go together as almost one unit. And later on we have the Sankhya and the Yoga coming together as one. Similarly, the third is the Purva Mimamsa and the Uttara Mimamsa. Therefore, we have dealt with the second of the Shaddarshanas, Vaisheshikas, in this course. So let us recollect. The philosophies came up in our country to understand whether there is something like a reality or a creator or a God from where this whole creation has come. And if it has come, what is the relation of that creator with this universe? How this universe or this entire world has been created? What are the fundamental components of this universe? And in this universe we have the objects and we have the jiva, the individuals. And what is the relation between the two? And what does universe consist of? The jiva and the padarthas. And the jivas, as we are all as individuals, we have the dimensions of the sukha, the dukkha, and we have various emotions, and we have the bondages, we have the slavery. The whole objective is, can we overcome all these bondages and go into a state of absolute freedom, freedom from all tensions, stressors, diseases, dukkha and others? Can we have infinite happiness and bliss? That have been the motivation. And there is also in the Astika Vada, there is the dimension of birth and death, birth and death. And we are all in the cycle of birth and death. Is it possible to overcome this birth and death and reach that moksha or liberation? That have been the dimensions. These are the questions that have been addressed in the whole of the Shaddarshanas. And therefore, this is of vital value for the modern age in which now we have a large number of challenges that we face in life. And by understanding the principles of Shaddarshanas, we will be able to get at it. What is the essential feature of all Shaddarshanas? Proper knowledge. The wrong knowledge has to be removed. Avidya has to be removed. Ajnana has to be removed. And that is the essential feature by which you can overcome all the bondages, all the dukkhas and the slavery that we have in the world. And that gives us the whole direction as to how the Shaddarshanas give us the dimension. With that, now we pass on in the next course to the next Shaddarshanas, that is the Sankhya. And I wish you all the best. Dhanyavad.